Greetings everyone and welcome to the BlastCast. I am Jarvis. With me as always is the guy who loves Gravlev more than anything in the world, Lightning Dragon.
I don't know about that.
Well, let's jump into the production update. I just want to give you a quick PTU update about a mechanic. In the 3.1.4i patch, they have got the Gravlev bikes working a lot better. The Nox still has issues. For the most part, you can just, when you're riding a Dragonfly, just let it go. Just drive in a line, and unless you're driving into like a cliff or something that's really steep, that's almost vertical, it'll scale it. It does a good job. So it's actually kind of relaxing and enjoyable. So I really hope that they continue the progress on this, and the Nox issues has a tendency to still flip end over end occasionally, but it is better. And on the PTU, the frame rate was about 17 to 20, so they have managed to separate the latency issue from the Gravlev, so it doesn't seem to matter at all. Alright, this week on Reverse the Verse and Around the Verse, they're both the same subject, dealing with service beacons, so I've combined some of the information here a little bit between the two shows. But let's start with the other news inside the show. This was something I really like to see. They have actually showed off a little bit of the forests, the procedural generations for the new biomes. One of the moons of Hurston.
Don't you mean the forest moon of Endor?
Yes, actually. All we need is, as you said, is the Wilhelm Scream and full speed ahead directly through a forest. You get to live your Stormtrooper fantasies as you go screaming into a tree at full speed, or hopefully hitting an Ewok.
Definitely hitting the Ewok is for most people's fantasy.
Oh yeah. And as usual, what I'll do is I'll show some of the other updates in the background and label it for you so we can jump right into the service beacons.
Which is going to be like the entire show.
Yeah, we had some thoughts on it. Of course, service beacons are player-generated missions. Reputation is kind of divided between the provider and also the person accepting the contract, based on a 5-star system. They're trying to be careful with it so they can avoid a lot of the pitfalls and trolling they've seen in other MMOs. We'll have to see how that goes, but as you know, trolls be trolling and always find a way to do it. The reason that they did the service beacons the way that they do, without having the access through the Mobi-Glass, like it pops up and you can just accept, is that they wanted to not break immersion. They wanted to create a system where you don't have to like open Mobi-Glass, go to the things, like a tab, then select the mission. They wanted the system just to be more fluid and just kind of keep the gameplay moving. Now they want to build in hotkeys that will aid for like quick dispatch and response, and also you can set up so that only your friends can react to it. Future iterations of the beacon will provide additional information such as hit ratio and kill percentage, elapsed time, average speed, all sorts of different factors about the person that is accepting the mission. NPCs should also be able to interface with service beacons, meaning that you could actually have a random NPC jump in to help you.
Don't know how useful they are.
Yeah, that is the question. Maybe they'll learn some of those paper airplane flying techniques and come in and save the day.
more like make you laugh until you fall out of your chair and then someone kills you and the mission fails.
Escort service beacons will be next in the queue, and this will also include quantum linking that should automatically keep you guys together. Down the road, they want to add additional service beacons, including assassination with multiple people competing for the same payday, mining and salvaging. This could be centered on a location, and even later than that, refuel and repair. Now, in the Reverse the Verse section dealing with service beacons, there were some questions that were asked by the backers. Now, they were concerned about what kind of systems are being put into place to prevent abuse with service beacons. As I stated earlier, it's a 5-star rating system. If you quote-unquote do nefarious actions, your rating will go down over time. The problem I have with a system like this to a degree is that you could do really well, and then someone just doesn't like you or just is trolling and they just give you a 1-star rating. Hopefully you can vote that back. But there was a Black Mirror episode on Netflix where everyone's lives are based on this star rating system. You vote people up, you vote people down, and the whole society became based around everybody just trying to get a vote up. So everything, where you could live, everything was determined by your ranking. I think of that Black Mirror episode, and I think of this service beacon kind of setup.
You can't have an airplane flight over here unless you have 4 stars.
Well, yeah, but also, like, you just said, you could just have someone trolling the heck out of you, or My concern is also as well is that like you accept a mission, a person cancels the mission, gives you 1 star, and then says you failed. But they're doing this on purpose. They start trolling people around like that. I don't know if it would still let you vote them down, but it could really get ugly. It really could.
And later, after we get through all these questions, there's a little thing that we're going to talk about this in general, more in depth. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah. This beacon system could be used as a template for a distress beacon down the road. It may or may not cost money to use. The thing with these kind of beacons is that you have to be within a transmission area of one of those relays in order for it to reach out to everyone. Now, or you could basically be kind of like Tom Hanks on an island, and you have like, you cart out the logs.
Well, son.
Exactly. But you can put up those logs. Essentially speaking, if there's no one in the area, to no one to relay it. Now, say something like a herald comes by, they pick up the distress beacon, and they retransmit it up and out where you can be rescued because they're too lazy to do it themselves. So that would be a way to do it. But for the most part, if you're outside of a transmission range, you have to kind of hope that a ship stumbles by you. With the reputation system, someone might actually see your distress beacon and see your 1-star rating and decide that you're just not worth saving. That should make for some interesting meta gameplay. And as you said, well, son.
Yeah, especially if they fly by close enough to you can see them, and then they leave. So you see that they could have saved you, but didn't. No, you live with it.
Specifically, kind of what was asked in there as well is, was there any phenomenon that could actually interfere with the service beacon? They didn't actually answer if there would be like a nebula or maybe some sort of electromagnetic interference, but I would imagine that could be a factor as well. I mean, if you land on a planet with a lot of electromagnetic kind of, I don't know, materials or whatnot, I can imagine that CIG would actually factor that in. They seem to be the kind of guys that would want to do that.
A great disturbance in the force. As if one person set a beacon down and cried out for help, and then was suddenly silenced.
And was suddenly voted down by the entire community.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the description of missions, someone asked if we could put text, our own custom text, into a mission description. And they said that they want to keep it a child-friendly environment, and they don't want NPC and player missions to be distinguishable from one another.
I'm calling bullshit on that one. Oh, sorry, excuse me, bullcrap. Gotta keep this child-friendly.
So, yeah, the thing is that what I would do instead is, if you want to have a filter on there, a lot of games have chat filters, I get that. There's no reason you couldn't also have a button to report for inappropriate...
Yeah, you just report that mission, and it affects their thing we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, and it basically takes a recording or whatever was set it when the person hit the report button. This way you can, if something is reported and it's not actually legit, like someone says, please help me, and then someone just smashes report because they're being a jerk, it's not going to come back upon the person who didn't actually do anything wrong.
And a lot of that could actually be automated as well, because you can hit the report button and it puts like a filter through there, like a word check, and so it looks for like swear words or
does a screenshot things. And uploads it or something.
Yeah, I mean you could have it where you could just have it where it for a very basic automated system is you hit report and it does the initial report and scans it for like swear words, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if that comes back and it goes, oh, okay, well, don't use those, and it will like maybe just automatically delete it. But if it doesn't find those, then it would just leave it. But if enough people report it, then it would actually go to something that would, look at it and be like, no, this isn't cool. Then obviously, at some point, if we're talking MMO levels here, that you should eventually not be able to use beacons anymore. You abuse it too long, and the privilege is taken away from you.
That's true. That could work out well too. Now, can service beacons be used to place bounties? Down the road, possibly, but the first one to come in would be assassination, because that's the simplest of the two to implement, as opposed to assassination or a bounty. They have to work out all the details of the legal system before they can actually flesh out how a bounty beacon would work, but definitely assassination would be first. And the last one here was, would you be able to submit an anonymous service beacon? That hasn't been discussed yet. And frankly, if I got an anonymous service beacon, someone said, I need help, I'm not telling you who I am, I'd be like, well, that's okay, I'm not helping you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, red flag.
Yeah, that is definitely on the ID of red flags. So you had some thoughts about the kind of beacons related to ship transponders, right?
Yeah, we've talked about the ship transponders before, kind of in regards to like pirating, where your ship has a unique identification code. There's not that many people playing to be real easy to do this. And the ship identification code would be like, where it was built, who is the current owner, how many people have owned it, like maybe frequent visits, like if it goes to this one station a lot. So if you were a bounty hunter, for example, right, you could be like, do, and look this stuff up, and you'd have like a couple different levels of it. Like the police would have like all information, like CIG would have all this. And then you'd have like a bounty hunter one where you have to pay more to get like all this information. Then you have like a general one where you look up, what's the Millennium Falcon? Oh, that's a Corellian YT 1300 transport. It's owned by Han Solo, right? I'm doing it off the top of my head. I could be wrong. And so you'd have like general information. But when they're talking about reputation and beacons and things like that, you could extend this to have a player identification. So, you have it where like how many reports or how many missions, beacons has this person, issued, how many have been accepted, how many got finished, and then you could have a back and forth rating system where, maybe you did a perfect job and he give you a 1 star. And you go, well, screw you, buddy. I did nothing wrong. So you give him a 1 star back. So you kind of have a back and forth with this rating system. Because let's be honest, people are going to troll the rating system. So then, when there's a beacon issued, you may be like, oh, this beacon is by so-and-so, Doctor Strange. And you look at him and he says, he's done 116 beacons and only like 3 been completed. You might look at that and go, well, why have only 3 been completed? And you might not want to accept that. So it would be a really easy way to help players filter the missions they want to do. And obviously the player ID thing could be extended to, like most frequented area, if they're in Levski all the time, it'd be like, number 1 place they've been seen in, and, criminal status. And there you can do a whole lot of stuff with a system like this. Just think of it like, let's talk about GTA. GTA, you have stats, even Warframe. You can go into stats and they'll show you like most played Warframe, favorite weapon, favorite sidearm, how many people of Grenier have you killed, and these things are pretty basic when you're talking about high quality games. So I don't think it'd be really that hard to implement.
Yeah, with the whole bounty system, do you think it could because I know that CIG employees are going to be playing the game as well, obviously, but if a CIG developer is testing out the bounty system and they arrest a player, is that going to be called a SIG arrest? Sorry, that was terrible.
Your joke was bad, and you should feel bad.
Man, that's just mean.
All right, on to the highlights of Calling All Devs, the questions we actually cared about. They wanted to know if it's possible to overload a ship so that it won't be able to take off from a planet. Now, this is something we had as a center of one of our shows a few weeks back. And they said, yeah, but it depends. Dedicated cargo ships would have thrusters that would account for the load, but ships that are kind of hybrid, like the Avenger, would not be able to put the heaviest weights in there as it'd struggle to get off the ground. I have a little bit of a problem with this to a degree, because once again, just because you have space to fill something doesn't mean that you can. With as I said, I can fill this all with feathers, or I can fill this all with gold bars. One of those is going to be harder, if not impossible, to get off the ground. So, but at least to some degree, they're looking at this in a better way. Like now, they're at least going to be counting for your ability to take off the ground. So hopefully, as this develops, as we start getting the item system 2.0, and they start going, okay, we either need to up the size of these thrusters, or we need to start limiting the weight. I think every ship should have a weight limit, because that's an important factor, I think, when making a decision, not only of what you're going to carry for cargo, but also if you're going to be going to a planet with higher gravity, and you decide, maybe I'd like to leave that planet again, so let's not buy this much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like modern day airplanes have to factor in anything like that. They just strap engines on them and they just fly.
Exactly. It's science.
You'll have like an empty weight, you'll have a wet weight, which is like with fuel and water and things, and you'll have like a max weight, max liftoff tonnage or stuff like that. So it would make sense that in the future you'd still have those things, but they'd be based off of 1G environment. Like in space, well, there's microgravity, so you can load it up way more, but you're going to have penalties to your acceleration and things like that. But you wouldn't want to take that down to a planet, because it'd be the last trip you take to that planet.
And the other question I found interesting was that they were talking about sensors. Now, right now, you can see ships when they're 10, 15 kilometers. They wanted to know if it's going to be possible to detect ships out farther. and what that's going to entail. They stated that basically
you need to go and get a degree in golfing, and then you have to go on a couple different PGA World Tours, and that I can mess up words too. You just cut all yours out.
I like turtles.
That's mean.
Whatever, you're gonna leave it in. But anyway, after you get like top 10 in one of your world tours, then you'll be able to scan for ships that are farther than 15 kilometers away.
Yeah, larger ships carry better equipment, or at least have more room for equipment, and also specialized ships. I'm hoping that honestly that we can start seeing things hundreds of kilometers off, so that we have time to respond to it.
If you want to go on a random little tangent here for a second.
Tangent away.
All right, so last night, because for that last couple days or whatever, and when the sun goes down, I'm talking about real life stuff now on Earth here, not game related. There's been a star like right outside, and then like in the backyard, and like 2 or 3 nights in a row. It's like, what are these? Because they're coming up really, really early in the nighttime, right? I mean, the stars aren't out yet, so it's like they're probably planets. So my dad got an app on his phone, and we were looking at that. And one of them was Venus, which was, I think, in the northern area. And the other one, he's like, oh, it's probably Mars. It was actually Saturn. That was kind of cool. And directly below us was the Hubble telescope. Something that, looks hundreds of thousands of light years away and takes pictures of things.
It does seem that 900 years in the future, we would at least be able to scan a couple hundred miles out.
Yeah.
Here's hoping. As kind of a last note, I'm going to leave a link down below to a thread that a backer named Morales had posted. I kind of like the idea, so I wanted to talk about it here. He had an idea to add palletized functions to basically the cargo ships, initially speaking just on the idea of adding seats or palletized seats to cargo bays. So rows of seats, and the seats would have additional life support built into that pallet that's there. It's loaded, and now more people can sit inside that ship. And that got me thinking, if that kind of thing could be made, which it could, because it's basically a cargo container crate, right? It's being loaded onto the ship, and it has a function. Could not large cargo ships also have the potential to, in those locations where cargo went, have machinery put in that's used to do a different function inside that ship, changing the function of the ship, giving us the modularity back that was promised as one of the early backer features.
Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, so I thought that might be an interesting way to bring some of that back. I think it's a great idea. Check out his post, and good job. All right, everyone. Well, that's about everything for this week's BlastCast. As always, leave comments and suggestions down below, and look forward to the 3.1.4 patch if you've been waiting to use your GravLab mic. Big improvements. All right, guys. Catch you in the next one.
Can't wait until they have like version 3.3.5.7.8.I.W.5.
Me too.
Bye-bye.